the first words the man ever spoke to me were, "Do you need any help with that?" I just knew from just that one sentence that this was going to be the guy. So my first night in the apartment, and the living room is set up, in the kitchen, of course, you have to set up your kitchen, and I was exhausted. And I opened up a bottle of Chianti, and I sat on my couch, and I thought, tomorrow, this could be him. Or maybe not tomorrow, maybe next week. But one of these days, there's going to be the two of us sitting on that couch, drinking our Chianti, listening to music. He probably likes to dance. I like to dance. I was imagining that he would come in and just offer me his hand. No, would you like to dance? Just. And I would know. And I would just know, and I would get up and we would dance in my living room in between the boxes, and it would be perfect. It would be beautiful. Over the next couple of months, the weather started getting colder, and that's when I generally like to start making heartier, that type of stuff. And so I made this pasta fazool, which is, a bean and pasta soup. It's very hearty. And I just put some up in some containers and knocked on his door, and I said, I've made this, and there's way too much for just one person. And he loved it. He had never had pasta fazool before. In this day and age, I don't understand how somebody can get to be 40 years old without ever having tasted pasta fazool, but this is the truth. He had never had it before, and he loved it. When a man loves your food, when he takes it into his body and makes something that you created a part of him, there's no greater feeling of acceptance in the world. And every Sunday I would just whip up the old pasta fazool, and sometimes he would have a nice loaf of bread and a little olive oil, and he would invite me to come and sit down, and we would share the soup. And other times maybe he wouldn't be home, and that was okay, and I would just leave it for him, because at this point I knew how much he enjoyed it, and I wanted to do it for him. And so I would leave it sometimes out in front of his door, and then I would go back up and get the containers later in the week, because he didn't really ever seem to come downstairs and bring them down. And I realized he also never came downstairs with a bottle of Chianti. And we never really did dance around my living room. But he loved that soup. Well, last Sunday, I make the soup. It's nice and fresh and steaming hot. And I pour the soup into the containers. And he's waiting for me to bring the soup, because now he knows the routine. And he has a date. He has invited to his house a date to come for dinner to eat my soup that I make for him every week. And she's sitting at the table with a nice loaf of crusty bread, just like I wanted, and a little salad and a little Chianti, and everything is beautiful. And she's just smiling at me like she's so glad that I finally brought the main course. And I scalded her. I scalded her with the hot soup. I didn't care. I dumped it smack right there on her exposed, inappropriate skin, because of course she couldn't possibly show up in a nice, normal Sunday afternoon outfit. Oh no, she had to have everything hanging out. Well, how dare she? How dare he? How dare she? How dare they make a date over my soup that I made for him? So I burned her with the soup, and I didn't even care. And he's all like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, you want soup? There's your soup. Fine, have the soup, enjoy. And he's looking at me like I'm out of my mind. And I'm looking at him like he's out of his mind. I mean, who does he think he is to have a date over for my food? And he's like, she's screaming her head off, ah! Wiping the soup with a napkin, which is just rubbing it in, because apparently she's also an idiot. And he's, oh, you gotta do something, you gotta do something. Get a bag of peas from the freezer, get some ice. Get some ice. Well, I get the ice, fine. I'll get the ice, I wrap it in a well, she is screaming, will not let me come anywhere near her. Now I'm trying to help this woman out, and she's fighting me off like I'm some kind of a, I don't know what, like I'm an attacker, like I'm going after her, and I'm like trying to give her the ice. So I was like, you know what, fine, just hold her hands. And I had him hold her hands, and he's holding her hands behind her back, and she's screaming her mouth off, and I just, fine, you want me to help you? I'll help you. But I couldn't listen to the screaming. I could not stand the screaming, and I just shoved an ice cube in her mouth, and she kept screaming, and I just kept shoving ice cubes into her mouth until she was, and she started choking on the ice cubes and making all these garbly sounds, and the sounds were just getting me more and more angry, and I just kept shoving the ice cubes in, and she just wouldn't shut up, so I took the towel and I shoved the towel in. And he's looking at me like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And I was like, I'm shutting her up, and then I will fix the burns, but right now, I can't stand the screaming anymore. And I just covered her mouth and her face with the towel and just I just pressed it to stop the screaming. I pressed it. And she stopped. She stopped screaming and breathing. She stopped screaming and she stopped breathing. And I just held the cloth. And I couldn't move. Because I just wanted her to shut up and be gone. She was still there. And he was still there. And he just looked at me like, do you have any idea how sick you are? I just wanted him to be with me on it, you know, to help carry her, grab her legs or something, and just, you know, together now we have a problem that we can solve, and we'll, you know, we'll work on the solution together. And he wanted nothing to do with it. Like, he wanted me gone. Like, he wanted me gone like I wanted her gone. And he just opened the door and held it for me. And I took her and I brought her down the stairs, and he dialed 911. And they were coming. He called 911, and they were going to come and arrest me for murder that was a complete and total accident that he caused on his own and was now trying to pin it on me, like I'm the bad guy in this scenario. And now I have to deal with police coming into my house, and I just kept looking at him like, how could you? How could you do this to me? I don't understand.